Hi guys, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Black Consciousness Movement channel. My name is Jehovah, and I think you know what we are talking about on that channel. It's kind of what I'm gonna call a great awakening of like how the government, obviously, or the elites in this world are playing us against each other. I always talk about that because I think and I feel it's important. Yes, we admit that racism exists and is still alive. However, one of the things that I have noticed personally myself in my walk with different people from different backgrounds is that 10% of um, I'm gonna be honest because we deal with the white and black narrative, so I'm gonna just call it what it is. I'm not gonna like kind of try to mimic it like, oh no, like the other tribes and so on. I'm gonna say that 90%, 10% of white people are the ones trying to raise this thing of like, being superior than, blacks or other, tribes or whatever, or other races in that sense. But 90% of white people really just want to live peacefully with other people. However, the 10%, most of them are the elites, meaning that these are the wealthy type of people up there controlling the whole system. And when I say 10%, I'm talking about the 10%. It doesn't mean that there's no other people involved, but obviously you know the narrative, right? From the beginning of like, the whole thing. So now what we do on this channel, we talk about ourselves, talking about our black hair. This is my own like, black hair. I love my hair, very thick and very pitch black. And then we talk about our own, for example, we talk about how we raise our own children in comparison to how the Western world raise their children. And I always say that there is no perfect way of raising children. I am actually mixing the African way of raising children with the Western way of raising children because both are having loopholes. When we say black is beautiful, we are not comparing that beauty with other races. We are not saying black is beautiful more than white, black is beautiful more than brown. We are just teaching mainly that black is beautiful. So, like I said, without wasting any time, let's get started. And today's episode is, as I usually say, we have a lot of ways where we bring news into our channel because we have 4 channels, and this is the only channel where I feel like we can bring news into it. Before going any further, my name is Jehovah, and today we're gonna talk about a lot of things that are happening in the world. Like, are we heading for World War III? I think I told you in my previous video. And yes, our girl is back. Candace Owens is back, and she is on fire. I think you remember the previous I think there was an episode that I had about her where I was talking about like how she was allowed to talk about black people. And when I say that, I am not completely saying that all the things that she was allowed to talk about black people, like, this is the thing. I have things that I agree with Candace when it comes to the way, for me personally, my problem has been the way she talk about those black people that were killed brutally by police. Like, for example, even the George Floyd. Even if you say that George Floyd was a criminal, it doesn't mean that he should be killed with a knee. Okay, so there was another thing, for example, that I talk about Candace saying there is no racism. She corrected herself. She said she never said that, and I think that was the biggest thing that I had with her. But I always say that I had a lot of other people that I disagree with, but that doesn't mean that I don't like them or I don't love them. Like Candace specifically, there's a lot of things that I agree with her, like her Christian walk, her morality, like all those things. So I cannot just bury her alive just because of the one part of belief that probably I'm not into her way of believing, because we have a lot of things that we kind of like. For example, she's like into like anti-feminism in that sense. It doesn't mean that, and that's a problem with people when somebody talk about that. People think that, oh no, you don't like women, or no, you agreeing with some things that women are fighting for, but you're not agreeing with now putting men down because now I'm a strong woman, I can do anything, I don't need a husband, I don't need a man, I can be a father and a mother to my children. Those are the things that I agree with Candace. We are like, when it comes to that, I'm 100% agreeing with Candace. And anyway, she is back and she took the bull by its horns. Like she cleared everything, like going from, where was she fired from? Maybe we should take a look at what she's saying about all the things ever since she came back, like why was she fired from the Daily Wire. She doesn't really go into the specifics, but I want you to listen to what she's saying, and then we can come back to discussing her interview with, oh my Lord, I am so excited. But you know why I'm excited? I'm not, I know like it looked like we're heading for World War III, but I'm not afraid of anything. I know that God is in control, okay? And I think what makes me happy is that a lot of people are waking up from this delusional, psychopathic kind of thing that, like we have been sold, especially by the media and so on. So I'm happy that Christians are actually waking up too. And we are just like ready to say no to things that we don't like. As humans, we are not going to be controlled by 10% of the world. Anyway, so let's listen to Candace and then we can come back. Yeah.
So yeah, when I found out, really kind of, sort of, definitely with the rest of the world, that my show had been rather unceremoniously canceled, it was upsetting. It sort of felt like you're talking on those old school cord phones late into the night and like your parents are sleeping and then you think they're sleeping. And then suddenly your mom picks up and she's like, yeah, this conversation is ending right now and you're grounded for 2 weeks. It's over. Deeply, deeply upsetting. And I think also something that was strange is that when most people leave their jobs, they just sort of leave their jobs. It doesn't really become this global news story where everybody feels like they have to comment. Yeah, a worldwide Twitter trend for an entire week. I was shocked, very shocked, and I'm sure you were shocked as well, when no sooner was the split announced than Andrew Klavan just was like, hey, it's me. I pick myself. I'm going to be her crazy ex-boyfriend. It's like a bizarre tour he went on. He felt like it was his duty, or maybe somebody knighted him and said, you know what, Andrew Klavan, this is your duty to go around and to just smear Candace Owens. Say whatever it is that you want about her. I gotta tell you, when I found out that my show was canceled, I was really sad. Then I remembered, wait a minute. I am Candace. I am the show. These are my people. You can't cancel Candace, and nobody knows that better than my great friend and colleague, Ben Shapiro. I'll see you guys next time.
Do I need to explain anything there? I think what she's saying there is really self-explanatory. I don't think I have to add anything. But I think one of the things that I want us to look at is her recent interview with Piers Morgan. I think by now you know about the anti-Semitic, like if you talk or say anything against Israel, about what's going on in Gaza right now, you are anti-Semitic. Like, it means you're against Israel, right? And I think when you find people who are standing by their word, like Candace Owens does, and she go to an interview where she knows that this person is gonna ask you, do you condemn what Hamas did on October 7th? That's actually his favorite, I think Piers Morgan. So, okay, so I want you to look at, I have some extract from the interview. Obviously, it's a long interview, an hour and 30 minutes. You probably don't have like the time to watch that. And I don't want to make my videos go for more than 15 minutes. So I'm going to leave the link below, obviously, for all the interviews or all the things or videos that I'm going to use. Yeah, so let's look at that video and then we can come back.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Good news. We are trending sort of everywhere. We are number 7 on Apple Podcasts overall. We are number 10 overall on Spotify podcasts. And this is just the first week of the show, only episode 4. So exciting. But we are also trending all over Twitter and on the internet and on YouTube because I had an appearance on Piers Morgan last night. It was supposed to go for 30 minutes, but it went for an hour and a half. And this is what happened.
Why did you leave the Daily Wire? A lot of attention has been focused on you constantly referencing Christ is King. But to deliberately use that phrase was a deliberate act of provocation to people like Ben Shapiro.
I want every single person in the world to declare Christ as King, whether you believe them to be a Nazi, a white supremacist, a Jew, a Muslim. It is the phrase itself that I want declared.
Who do you want to win the war, Ukraine or Russia?
I don't want Zelensky to win. I don't want Putin to win. I believe Zelensky is just as corrupt. I believe he is a criminal. What percentage of a population has to be killed before we can use the word genocide? It's a funny little thing. They won't tell you.
She said here, I would stake my entire professional reputation on the fact that Brigitte Macron is in fact a man. With that statement, your entire professional reputation goes up in smoke.
Burn. You got me. You go, girlfriend.
I'll bet you $100,000 right now that it is established beyond any doubt that she was born a woman. Do you accept the bet, Candace?
Whoa. No. At best, Brigitte Macron is a pervert. Ooh, he came for me last night, you guys. And guess what? I went right back at him. It really is a lesson in how the media works, how the media is constantly operating on our minds. And that is what we are going to get into today on Candace.
Okay, so we are back. So there's a lot of things going on right now. Like, it's crazy. So I also want to share because, to be quite honest, I don't trust news anymore because the mainstream media, honestly speaking, I don't know, like, because now that I found that news can actually be kind of like manipulated to create a certain narrative, I am very careful. So I watch, like, for example, I watch somebody like Candace Owens because she really brings things and she is brutally honest. And then I watch Tucker Carlson. I have a very few people that I watch, and so I'm not, that's why I'm saying I'm gonna leave the links here because this channel is not for news, but obviously when things are going on in the world that's gonna affect all of us, I'm gonna have to share, obviously, so that you know and so that you're updated. But I want to share something that it's called a false flag or something like that, and I'm gonna allow Candace to actually explain it. And for me, I feel like, oh wow, I'm not surprised. I've thought about this. I think even when it comes to COVID-19, right? Okay, let's watch Candace and see what she's saying first.
Where were you on 9/11? I mean, if you're a millennial like me, the terrorist attack left an indelible mark upon your childhood. And I want to be clear, this was the land and the time before smartphones. There were no independent media voices that were offering reports. There was no Twitter. There was no social media on Instagram. And I think now, obviously, we appreciate how significant independent voices are, especially in times of high confusion. I mean, from COVID vaccines to Russia collusion, we now very much understand that the mainstream media is capable of getting it wrong and also capable of telling massive lies. So what immediately followed the September 11th terrorist attack was, as I reflect upon it in the retrospect, now that I'm an adult, a married mother, 35 years old, and my brain is developed, I recognized Soviet tactics of brainwashing. But there's no question that we were not told everything about that day and that many questions were not being answered. I mean, some of the things that we were even told make entirely no sense. For example, we were told that the terrorist attacks were executed by the Saudis, remember? Which totally explains why we then decided to go to war with Iraq, who had weapons of mass destruction that were never found. And who can forget how the newscasters told the public that they were definitely sure that it was the Saudis? Don't remember? Let's revisit it. Let's go back to 2001 and watch this clip from our trusted news source, CNN. Take a listen.
Another development on Saturday, New York officials revealed at a news conference here in the city that a hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that. No other details were given, but the discovery prompted the FBI and police to expand the search area down in Lower Manhattan.
I like how even the newscaster says, if you can believe that, because nope, I refuse to believe that, and you should not either. You are telling me that somebody hijacked a plane, got onto the plane, crashed the plane exploded into fire, tower collapsed. They could not even find all of the human remains. But in all of this, in all of the fire, in the collapse of the building, and all the dust, in all the struggle, they found, and didn't give any details of how or who found it, the passport. The little paper passport survived everything. And they go, oh, well, look, this is one of the hijackers. This is one of the Saudi hijackers. He must have dropped his passport from the sky before he flew the plane into the building, and somehow they couldn't even find the audio boxes, the black boxes from the plane, but they have the passport. So here it is. Yeah. Let me tell you something, sweetheart. You don't have to believe that 9/11 was an inside job, but you better tether yourself to the understanding that false flag events are a reality, not an imagination, not a conspiracy theory. It is a reality. And you want to know how we know that? Well, you can just look this up on Wikipedia if you don't believe me, because a former sitting president who was subsequently assassinated in the back of a car next to his wife, JFK, he refused to sign off on a false flag event. The CIA came to him. This is called Operation Northwoods. You should look this up if you think that I'm making this up. The CIA came to JFK and they said, we have an operation. We want to go to war with Cuba. Okay. And he said, we have some ideas of how we're going to get the American public on our side, how we're going to get public sentiment to shift so that they want war. And what we think we should do is stage a false flag event, pretend that Cuba is attacking America when in reality it's not. It's really us. One idea that they floated was a fabricated shoot down of a U.S. Air Force plane. They also floated blowing up a U.S. ship. And other ideas that they had were just to orchestrate a series of terror attacks on United States citizens. They thought maybe in Miami, maybe in D.C., we'll just start killing people and blaming the Cubans. And JFK said, this is maniacal. I absolutely will not sign off on a false flag event against American citizens in order to get them to agree for us to go to war with Cuba. So yeah, those things do actually happen in the world.
Did you just hear what you said about 9/11? But did you hear what you said about John F. Kennedy, who was obviously assassinated? Could you ever imagine that somebody will kill their own people to make it sound like somebody else did that so that they can actually... I think most people know the Gaddafi kind of thing. You know, like, obviously, maybe that's a false flag kind of thing as well, because most people know that Gaddafi wanted to make Africa great again, and just after that, the American ambassador was killed, and obviously America had the right to actually declare Libya a war zone. And you obviously know what that means. When NATO goes into a country, it's havoc, right? And yes, I know that 3 African countries actually gave them permission, because if they didn't, they could have never. I think it's Gabon, South Africa, and Nigeria. And I'm kind of like disappointed, because it's almost like, in that sense, they allowed Gaddafi to be killed. But let's not even, I'm not even talking about Gaddafi right now, but I'm talking about even a case of COVID-19. You know, like, what's his name? I forgot, like, Melinda Gates, you know, say that she saw dead bodies in Africa, right, during COVID-19. So they wanted to go and do, you know, whatever. You know, some intentions of people, maybe they're right. I don't know, maybe Melinda intentions was good. I don't know. But I think you guys know how COVID-19 disappointed these people, right? Because Africans have been dealt with sicknesses. We have been given sicknesses. I don't know whether you guys know about the injections of South Africans with the AIDS virus. And I think you guys know about the movie called 93 Days, about this Liberian American who was deliberately allowed to enter Nigeria, a country of like how many millions, knowing that Ebola is very contagious. And if was it not for those, you know, Nigerian doctors who exercised caution during that time, Nigerians would have died by numbers just because of that.
What's the problem?
We have a patient here, a diplomat brought in by ECOWAS. His temperature is very high.
This is a viral infection, a serious infection.
I think we have
Africa, but now there are fears that country could be on the verge of becoming the next hot zone for the virus is at risk.
Lagos is a city of over 21 million people. We simply cannot afford an Ebola outbreak
to allow to happen in this city.
Most of us live our lives without ever really understanding how connected we are.
Stay back, stay back.
But then one day, something happens. Something that changes the way you look at the world. Changes your life forever.
So some of these things, when people are saying them, let's believe them. Because some of these things are not conspiracy theory as we call it. Some of these things that we think are just a conspiracy, they are not. They are real. The false flag almost makes sense. So I'm going to use an example. Let me say South Africa want to attack Namibia for some reason, so that, you know, maybe Namibia is now, you know, Namibia now has like how many barrels of oil, right? So I think we're going to be like the Canada of Africa in that sense, you know. So I'm just using it as an example. Let me say South Africa, because they don't want Namibia to kind of be known as like the next giant of Africa in that sense, or Nigeria or whatever, then they want to attack Namibia. So what they will do is they will kill their own. Listen to this. This is crazy. They will kill their own citizens. The government will kill their own citizens and then blame it on Namibia, and then now have a reason to go and actually attack Namibia. That sounds crazy, but that's what's going on. That's what Candace is saying is going on. You know what? The happiest news to me is that Julian Assange is going to work as a free man. I am so happy. I want you to listen to what Candace Owens is saying about that whole thing and the false flag thing. There is things, this video might not be less than 15 minutes because it's important, guys. Things are going on. Things are going on. So listen to this, because I'm like, what is going on? But I'm so happy. Julian Assange is going out soon. So I want you to check this video out.
Seriously, what in the world happened on 9/11? And the topic, by the way, is timely, because yesterday it was announced that Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, will walk free. Now, if you do not know who Julian Assange is, the torment that this man has been through for the crime of telling the truth, then you have got to pay attention. 9/11 is the single most important event of our lifetimes. If we were intentionally lied to about it, then the question is, to what end? Let's talk about it. We're going to be in a lot of trouble after today. Squeal, squeal, squeal. I don't even know where to start. I guess let's start with the question. What crime would you say that somebody would have to commit in order to be sentenced to 5 years in a 6.5-foot by 10-foot cell, isolated for 23 hours a day? What crime is that? What crime is that receives that sentence? Well, in places like New York and California, you can basically, and not basically, literally, shoot someone in broad daylight and expect to make bail and walk free the next day. I mean, the U.S. government has very much signaled to us that criminality is okay. They want more criminality in the streets. So what would you actually have to do to earn their real ire? Well, you'd have to expose the government. You'd have to show that the criminals are in fact in charge, that they are running the government. And that's exactly what Julian Assange did with WikiLeaks. You remember hearing about WikiLeaks in the back of your head. You're like, yes, it's something to do when Hillary Clinton was running and the whole mainstream media told you that it was bad and Julian Assange was bad and not to listen to anything that was coming out of WikiLeaks, probably called everybody a conspiracy theory. Yeah, well, we don't have enough time to unpack everything that WikiLeaks did uncover. Definitely not in this one monologue. But if I had to put it into just one sentence, what did Julian Assange accomplish as the founder and the editor of WikiLeaks? I would say Julian Assange exposed the military-industrial complex. Let's take a listen to what he had to say back in 2012 about our elites.
Because the goal is not to completely subjugate Afghanistan. The goal is to use Afghanistan to wash money out of the tax bases of the United States, out of the tax bases of European countries, through Afghanistan and back into the hands of a transnational security elite. That is the goal, i.e. the goal is to have an endless war, not a successful war.
There he is, telling us right to our faces.
I am so happy. Like, if Julian Assange walk out as a free man, at least we know. But, let me just be honest. This guy went through horror for the past 10 years. Thank God he's going to walk out as a free man, at least. But it shows that when you want to tell the truth, they are putting you in a situation where you don't want to tell the truth, or where somebody else who wants to tell the truth is afraid to do that because they are afraid to go through that. So we thank God right now for people like Candace, Owens, Tucker Carlson, and all that, because the world is going down. Honestly speaking, things are happening. Like, things are beginning to sound like, is this war being created? Is it like people want World War III? It's almost like, you know what? I don't want to say a lot, okay? So for now, from me, Jehovah, take care, guys. God bless. Bye.